Welcome back to another episode of Tuff Talk with 24 with your boy Emmanuel 24. And in this episode of Tuff Talk with 24, we'll be talking about NBA superstars in the NBA currently right now going into the 2025-2026 NBA season. And y'all know I like to bring up this question a lot whenever we do interviews with people on this podcast. Who are people's superstars in the NBA? Because it's interesting. Everybody has different criterias and what's it called. So it really interests me who's each other's superstars and stuff. Y'all know my criteria. I always say it. Your impact to your team. What I mean by impact is if you're not on the court, how much does your team miss of you? Your box office appeal, how much are recognized are you around your league? So, for example, LeBron, Curry, Kevin Durant, box office appeal, obviously, because of their legacies in the league, because of how recognized they are around the world and stuff like that, how well they sell tickets. And then also, last but not least, how good are you? What do you do on a night to night basis? And that's something I bring up a lot when we talk about Tyrese Halliburton and his performance on a night to night basis. I bring that up a lot with LeBron, his performance on a night to night basis, and not only just how good your games are, how many good games can you have in a row. So that's really what we're talking about right here when we talk about best players in the National Basketball Association. But I'm not giving my best player rankings. I'm just telling you who my superstars are, who is right outside of the superstar category, and what makes a superstar in the NBA really, and why I have who here and who not here. I think going into this season now, my superstars last season. I'm gonna just start there. My superstars before the NBA season started. Going into this season, my superstars were LeBron, Tatum, Curry, Kevin Durant, Luca. I had Shea. I had what's his name? Jokic, Giannis. I still had Embiid. I had Ant, and I had let me think. I did not have Jalen Brown. And I think I'm missing one more. I remember. I think that's it, really, right? I know I'm missing a few. Uh, I think I'm missing somebody. But yeah, that was the list last season. Let's not stay on there for last year, for that long. I think people who were right outside of going into that superstar category last season was a Brunson. I did not have Brunson in it last year because he had that second round out. And not only was it just a second round out, it wasn't really that for me because he did get injured in that game 7 and all of that. It was the fact that that was his second year in a row, and I wanted to see him get over that hump. With Embiid, I still felt like he was still MVP form. I feel like in a healthy Embiid, whenever he was healthy, is one of the best players on the planet. I still had that mindset and that feeling. Jaw would have just left the list for me. I feel like that year for Jaw was still that was another year was like, all right, now he wasn't there for the whole season. How do we see him? He's right outside of that club for me last season. And then you have a Kevin Durant. I feel like he's still one of those dudes and stuff like that. And then Devin Booker, he's right outside of there for me. Yeah, one person I forgot was I had Jimmy Butler in that thing going into last season. All right. So now that's really just my mindset going in after last season. Who's a superstar? Who isn't? I think there was multiple coming out of last season. I feel like Donovan Mitchell could make a case for himself coming out of last season. John Morant, because that was this one year that was injured, so it was like, all right, cool. How now? All right, can you give us a healthy season? Brunson, I wanted to see Brunson get over that hump because I feel like it wasn't fair to put him in front of Donovan Mitchell if him and Donovan Mitchell have been stuck in the same position in both of their careers, and that's getting over that second round in the playoffs. Then another person I had outside of there that I feel like could have made a case is a Devin Booker because I think he was still you see it. He made it to the finals a few years ago, but then he's in that weird positioning because you really don't know his true like. I still am confused about the true value of a Devin Booker. And then somebody I had right outside of the superstar thing was a Jalen Brown. And it was nothing against the Jalen Brown and his performance and his ability. I just think he's right outside that superstar thing. Now, I think he was the closest to that superstar conversation. I even had him ahead of Brunson because he had the finals MVP, because he had the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and all of that. Now let's go into this season. I think people who have left that superstar conversation for me was a Joel Embiid because of the year. I feel like Jaw removed from me with Jaw. I feel like if I gave Jaw that punishment, I have to give it to him. So I think Embiid left that category for me, really because didn't stay healthy the whole season. Whenever he was Embiid was there, he was decent, but he just didn't seem physically in shape. And I feel like that was because he played the Olympics. I think we're gonna see a better version of Embiid going into this season. I really do believe that the Olympics kind of probably threw off his plan and how he's gonna approach how he approaches the off season and everything because of how physically it takes in going through those a month and a half straight of just straight basketball, no rest really, because you get there basketball, you have the qualifiers, no, not the qualifiers but the prelims, then you have the tournament itself, and then you have the group play itself, and then you go to boom bodying the tournament, and then you're the last one standing. So I feel like that kind of threw him off a little bit. Another person that would have left last season that I had is a Jimmy Butler. And I feel like with Jimmy Butler, it has nothing to do with Jimmy Butler. I feel like really during that Warriors run, you really kind of saw his, and I think it just wasn't him being there for long enough, but I kind of seen his ability where he could really just take over a game sometimes. And you saw his inability to do that really in that Warriors series after Curry got injured against the Timberwolves. He was really the third best player in that series. I think Randall was better than him, and and I think Anthony Edwards was better than him. So I think so, Jimmy. I think with Jimmy, it's just like his ability to take over a game, and that's one thing that I used to love about Jimmy and gave him so much credit. And him getting injured at that first round, I didn't feel like I wanted to take away from him because he did go to a finals where he basically put a full team on his back. Um, I still think he does have that box office appeal. But now that you didn't see him perform in the playoffs with his voice, but now when Curry was healthy, yes, he was great and all of that. But him being third best player in the series, especially when Curry went down, and I think it was even arguable that he was the third best player in the series. He was arguably the fourth with the greatness of Jordan Kaminga and him stepping up. So I think with Jimmy, he just got to show me that he still has that in him, and then with how mid he was in the playoffs, on top of his regular season numbers, who are really never that good. His numbers are really never that good till the season. I just believe like at the end of the day, in all niceness to Jimmy Butler, I think he has to leave that club. Now let's do people who are right outside of the club. Oh yeah, and then Anthony Davis left the club as well. All right, now people who are right outside of that club going into this season. I think first, who is right outside of that club, I think it would be not I wouldn't be fair to not put Anthony Davis right outside of that club. I think Anthony Davis going into this season is right outside the superstar club. Just off the mere fact with an Anthony Davis, I feel like he still has a lot to gain. And not only that, it's because he's going into a big season this season where he's the best player on a championship contending team, on the top team in the Western Conference, where we know the talent with the Western Conference. If he really puts that Mavericks team into a top four seed perennial situation where they're one of the best teams in the NBA, that means they're going to need Anthony Davis to be really well. And I feel like it doesn't feel like I should take away from him because last year he did miss the playoffs, but he was dealing with injuries later part on that season. Because before he was injured, first week of the NBA season before with the Lakers, he was an MVP candidate. So we got to give him props where it's due. Whenever you show that you are one of them dudes and you can be one of them guys, I think we got to give him props where it's due. I think we should put Anthony Davis in that right outside that superstar club right going into, and we'll see what happens there. Another person right outside that superstar club is Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell, he still hasn't gotten over that hump. And that's a hump that I did put discredit in on Jalen Brunson for. He still hasn't gotten outside of that hump. And that's getting to that next stage. And that next stage is getting to that Eastern Conference Championship. Now, this year, he's in a great positioning, just like Anthony Davis, to get into that superstar club. The Eastern Conference is a little bit not at this best. Tyrese Halliburton is going to be out most of the year. Damian Lillard has left the Bucks, so now it's just Giannis on the Bucks. You're gonna have a lot of up and coming teams coming out, Paulo and the Magic and all of that. So I think this is a year with the team that he has around him. This is a year he gets to the conference finals. This is a set. It's set up for him to go to the NBA finals this year. I'm gonna give him conference finals to be a little bit fair because he hasn't even been there yet. I think it's set up for him to go to a conference finals this year. He's one of those players where he's been a great regular season player. Not only a regular season player, he's been a great playoff player. He's just been first team All NBA. I know it kind of sounds like I'm discrediting him, but I think he is right outside of that club into punching into his NBA superstar campaign. So those are the two people that I think are the closest. I think Tyrese Halliburton is next. I'm not putting these in order, by the way. I just said Anthony Davis and Donovan Mitchell, I feel like are the two people that are the closest. Now with other people who are right outside of there, right outside of there getting in there. And I think that right there is Joel Embiid. I think Joel Embiid is going to be a man on a mission this season where he's going to remind y'all who he is because at the end of the day, no matter if you don't like him, no matter if he's injury prone, no matter if you don't get mad, you mad at that he can't stay healthy and all of this, yada yada that. At the end of the day, the man is a great basketball player whenever he's on the basketball court, and we got to give him props where it's due. And I truly believe a Jimmy But a not Jimmy Butler, a Joel Embiid who is healthy can get it going. And I feel like Joel Embiid who is healthy is an MVP candidate. Not only just an MVP candidate, I feel like a Joel Embiid who is healthy understands like at the end of the day I know what my worth and I know that I can be one of the best players in the world whenever I'm healthy and not only just on the offensive and the defensive end. We have seen Joel Embiid in the Olympics go head to head with Nikola Jokic and a lot of people give that game against Serbia credit to LeBron, give credit to Curry, give credit to KD for closing it out and give credit to what's his name? All of those three guys, they were the ones that took us to the promised land. Heck yes, I'm right with you. But at the end of the day, I do feel like we do need to give some credit to my man, Joel Embiid. Y'all forget him and Booker. Booker hits the big time three and has played amazing defense on the perimeter. You forget with a Joel Embiid, he's going one on one, battling Jokic in that fourth quarter. Not only battling him on the opposite and pull up mid range on the right on the wing inside the midi right wing. Boom. Splag it, and it gets on the defensive end and is holding his own, gets a block on Jokic, getting rebounds over Jokic, giving the team opportunities where Curry can get into position and score, and really holding down that paint there in that fourth quarter. That's one person I give a lot of credit to, even though he didn't have a great Olympic run. I feel like he had a great run in general where it came to not just whenever we needed him most, he delivered, and we needed him most when we were down by multiple points in that game against Serbia. So I think we got to give my boy credit there where it's due. Next, I think we got to put Devin Booker right outside of there. I don't know if he's in great positioning to do it because the Suns team built around him is probably not going to go to the playoffs for a second year in the row. And not only the Suns team around them, it's just the way that the things are stacked up in the West. I don't think they have the talent to hold up against the other teams in the West. So, in my honest opinion, I couldn't really give you an answer on. I don't think he's gonna hit it this year, but I think he's always right outside of there. I think he's one of the best players in the NBA. Just right off of that, has an NBA Finals appearance where he was the best player on that basketball team. Has been one of the best scorers in the NBA for the longest of time. So I think he's really a guy with his chip on the shoulder and knows what time it is and knows that he knows he's one of the best scorers in the NBA. You see his defensive impact. That's something a lot of people want to take away from him. You see his defensive impact in the NBA, in the Olympics when we need it, and not only his defensive impact in the Olympics, but just he was one of probably our best perimeter defender. So you know that he has that second gear in his game. So I really think Devin Booker is right outside of that club. I don't know if he's the closest though because they're probably not gonna make the playoffs next year. So I probably see a future of me coming back to this and saying, yeah, we'll probably go. He's probably gonna be here again. But I really like Devin Booker right outside of this club. Another person right outside of the club, and this is a one that I think could really hit in is Paulo Banchero. Paulo Banchero, great season with the Magic. I feel like that's another guy who is really punching his way in because the Eastern Conference is so open this season. I feel like if he can take this team to a conference finals appearance, and I feel like he really can, they bring in Desmond Bain, they add some pieces around them. Not only are they adding some pieces around them, Jalen Suggs is developing, Franz Wagner is developing, and more and best most Paulo Banchero is going to develop with them. So I feel like he has a lot to learn, a lot to grow up, and then at the state he's already about to get there. And with the Eastern Conference as open as it is, I think he's gonna have that winning factor with him too, and we're going to see a lot of more Paulo Banchero on not only just on television, but just winning more basketball games and being in more winning situations. So I really like Paulo Banchero, and then Jalen Brown. I think Jalen Brown, this is another guy that we're going to see a year where he's the number one option on that Celtics team. We're not going to see Jason Tatum on his shadow. We're not going to see nobody covering his way. It's going to be Jalen Brown. Now, I don't know if it's going to lead to much winning because of the way they traded Kristaps Porzingis. They traded Drew Holiday. So this is a team that's not really in the win now mentality. But I truly believe that Jalen Brown can show us that how really impactful he is and what he can really do outside of Tatum's show. Tatum is probably going to be injured throughout this whole NBA season. We're not going to see him come back. We'll probably see him if they make it to the playoffs. So this is a full year of Jalen Brown, so we can really see what he can do outside of Jason Tatum being that number one guy. And then last but not least, Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton, y'all know we talk about this. The only thing that's giving me not taking away Tyrese Halliburton is Tyrese Halliburton is a great player. Um at the end of the day with Tyrese Halliburton, he's a guy he has the fan base because he went to an NBA Finals. He has the went to an Eastern Conference Finals last year. I know he got injured in game 1. So went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and not only went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, but on top of all of that, he also Tyrese Halliburton also went to the NBA Finals this year and took a team that was probably compared as one of the most dominant teams in the history of the NBA, not just in this decade, not just in this 2000s, but in the history of the NBA, statistically one of the most dominant teams, took them to a game 7, had a heck of a game 7 before he got injured. All of that, he has all of that. My only thing that is taken away from him, and he's not going to be able to prove it to me because he's not coming back next season, is we need to start him seeing him put it his game onto a night to night basis. And I say it a lot of the times that we expect a LeBron James. That if a LeBron James has a 5 point game in the Eastern Conference Finals game 5, even if they're even if they're up 3-1, that's a guy that if he has that type of performance, he's getting talked about on every single platform of how bad that is. And not only is that Tyrese Halliburton, not only do I not feel like it's talked about enough, but I also feel like with Tyrese Halliburton, whenever it does happen, it happens a lot. It does happen a lot. There's a lot of games in the regular season where he just comes out there and you see Tyrese Halliburton have an 8.6 assist game. I wish I could see a Tyrese Halliburton give us 10 to 10 on an average night. And I know you see the averages. The averages at the end of the season are like 19 and 10 or whatever. But I don't want to see the inconsistent games, the drop off games. I wish he could give us those type of games on a night to night basis where we see the consistency that we see from a Curry on a night to night basis. We see Kevin Durant on a night to night basis. We see Anthony Edwards on a night to night basis. You could go buy a ticket and see Tyrese Halliburton drop. You could literally see him drop a 10-6 game. For any superstar that's going to be on our superstar list that we're about to announce, that's a game that's an unacceptable game from him. Some nights for Tyrese Halliburton are all right, cool. If LeBron has a 10-6 game, that's a game that's breaking the internet. I mean, he had a 12-point game against the Pacers, and they were literally talking about throughout the game, is he gonna get over 10 points? If that's not talked about with Tyrese Halliburton. So that's kind of what he's missing, a part of him. and we'll see. We'll see with Tyrese Halliburton if he can get to that second year in 2 years. That's what I'm really missing about him. He has the clutch factor. He's a winner. He has the box office appeal. I believe with the flashy passes gives the old people a little bit of a flourish of what Magic Johnson in the past. Whenever they see him, I just think he needs to that consistency on a night to night basis that he is missing. Now let's get to the superstar list before this episode comes to an end. First, person on the superstar list is Nikola Jokic. Obviously, I think Jokic is the best player in the world. Now, I'm not gonna have this in order. I just think Jokic is the best player in the world. Offensively, he's a problem. He can't stop. You can't stop him scoring wise. He's a great passer, great rebounder. One thing that he can fix, I believe, is his defense, and I feel like it's possible to fix his defense because at the end of the day, I understand the size, and he might not be as athletic and crazy athletic as anybody else, but you do see people his size make it work. He can become a better shot blocker. Now, I don't think his perimeter defense will ever be there, but I think he can. You can make him and you can develop him to become a different shot blocker, and that's one thing with him. That like with Luca, you do have that conversation. What is a better Luca in your opinion? Yes, probably get better at defense, but how better do we think Luca will get better at defense in his career? Do we really see him becoming a lockdown defender in the future? And probably not. Do we see him becoming a decent defender in the future? Probably not. But how better can he become in the future? That's one thing I think that is missing. With Luca is like, has he really hit his? Is this the best? Like, do we see Luca add anything to his game in the future that's gonna make like, all right, Luca came in this season work other than lose weight, then probably be better shape. I'm talking about NBA wise. I think with Jokic, he's not even at his best yet. He could still become a better defender. There's a world where Jokic is a better protector in the paint, but we'll see that he hasn't hit there yet. But I think as of right now, he's the best player in the world, and I know Shea Gilgeous Alexander is in that world. I think also another great player is Shea Gilgeous Alexander. He's a superstar as well. You don't go to an NBA Finals appearance like a Shea Gilgeous Alexander has and don't win an MVP. And as an accolade standpoint, this is probably one of the greatest seasons we have ever seen from one human being in the NBA. I think Shea, you got to give him credit where it's due. Goes out there winning NBA Finals, averages 32 a game, puts a team on his back that really where he really in that clutch time where I said it a lot, where it's literally Shea Gilgeous Alexander ISO a lot of the time, where he puts that team on his back, whatever matters most in the clutch. So you got to give him credit where it's due. I have Shea as a superstar. Next superstar, Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the best players in the world, probably the best two-way player in the world when it comes to offense and defense. His impact offensively, is up there with one of the best in the world, and defensively, he's up there probably as one of the best in the world as well, if not the best in the world defensively. He's one of the guys. He's Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't think there's really much more to say. Next, LeBron James, night to night basis, consistency. You see it there. Box office appear as the stature of the greatest player in NBA history. Not only with the box office appeal of the greatest player in NBA history, but you see the winning factor leads his team to a 3 seed. You could see the contribution that he still has. Old versions of himself. Whenever Luca was out, you saw. I mean, not Luca. Yeah, whenever Luca was out, you saw his ability to still be able to win against a tough Clippers team without a Luka Doncic, with against the tough Knicks team without Anthony Davis, and then you could even kind of say Luka Doncic as well because that was the night of the Luka AD trade. So you see his ability to still be able to put a team on his back. You see him still be able to move his feet defensively and have the ability that he has defensively on a night to night basis, especially during the regular season where there was a mark where he was the anchor of the number one defense of the month in the NBA. So there, LeBron James. I don't think there's much more to say. Stephen Curry's next. Greatest shooter God has ever created. Still has the ability to win. Took his team to a conference finals. I mean, conference semifinals. Could have took his team to a conference finals without his if he probably doesn't get injured. You see the run him and the Warriors had, and that post trade deadline where they were basically unstoppable, and a lot of it had to deal with Stephen Curry, the box office appeal, the great fan base. You turn around after every shot, after you see Curry, and it's on a night to night basis. Yeah, there might be some nights where he has a 5.9 against the Rockets, but that's one night out of 79. So I think Curry, you got to still give him credit that he's up there. And he's probably, and I think respectfully, he's probably one of the most impactful players in the world. Um, you could argue that he's up there impact wise with a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and with a Jokic, because when the team don't have Curry on the court, they become really significantly worse, and that's really has to do a lot with the impact that Curry makes whenever he is on the court. He can make good look great, and he can make terrible look good. So I love Curry, one of the greatest to ever do it, and he's definitely a superstar in my opinion. Next, Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant is still there as a superstar. Obviously, box office appeal. On my opinion, y'all know my what's his name thing about Kevin Durant, that I feel like if they had an NBA 1v1 tournament in the history of the NBA, I feel like Kevin Durant would come out as the winner. I think he's that special in an offensive player. I think respectfully with Kevin Durant, not only is he that special of an offensive player, but he is also can play defense when you need him to. You saw his clutch factor still there. You see him take to be a part and be a big reason why Team USA got took into gold. Now, one thing that he is losing, and we've seen him lose throughout the years, is the ability to impact winning. Now, I think he's in a situation where he can impact winning here in Houston, and we'll see what he does. But I think he's still a superstar. I don't think anybody that thinks he isn't is kind of has something against Kevin Durant. He's one of the best in the world, and we got to give him props because he's gonna be gone pretty soon. Next, Anthony Edwards. When Omar came on this podcast the other day and said Anthony Edwards isn't a superstar, that was one of the most ridiculous takes I've ever heard in my life. I think Anthony Edwards took his team to back-to-back conference finals. Now you want to see him get over that hump and win an NBA and get to the NBA finals and see what he can do there. But he's a winner. He's still 20 something. He's still low 20 years old. Just because got the able to drink a few years ago. So he's a winner. He's an impactful player on the basketball court. You see the impact that he makes whenever his team is off, whenever he's not on the court. You also see the impact. Not only does he have offensively, that he also has defensively. He has become a better shooter. I think now that he's become a better shooter, he relies a lot on the shot. I want to see him go back to really what he used to be, and that's and as a non as just more aggressive when it comes to driving, but he's one of the best in the world. He has the We all know that he obviously has the box office appeal whenever you really see it comes down to it, where Anthony Edwards, the flashiness, the dunk packages, the crazy posters that he has, and not only all of that with it, he's also what a lot of people want to be, the face of the NBA in the future. So with all of that, you got to give him credit where it's due. My man, Anthony Edwards, is a superstar. Next, I think Jason Tatum is a superstar. I know we're not going to see him next season, coming off of the NBA championship where I believe he was the best player on the NBA on the team, not just the finals. I did think Jalen Brown had a better finals run than him because he did shoot abysmally. But you still see his impact to winning. He still has not only the impact to winning, but he still is also, you could see, one of the best players in the world. He can go toe to toe with any great player in the world. You saw him go toe to toe with Giannis a few years back. And he can still have the ability to carry the team on his back. Like you saw him against the Knicks game where basically his teammates went non-existent on him. He kept that team, the Celtics, in that game before he got injured. And they probably wouldn't have won that game, but his ability to still take his team and put them on the back. You got to also give him props that he's probably arguably the best American born player in the NBA today. So, and all on top of all of that, his ability to be switch on to anybody defensively. He can guard the one, he can guard two, he can guard the three, he can guard the four defensively. So I think Jason Tatum, a superstar, one of the best top five players in the world. I think anybody that doesn't think that, I think you're just wrong. Next superstar on this in the world, I think you got to give it to Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen Brunson, ability to put that Knicks team on his back. I think he's the clutchest player in the NBA, in my personal opinion. Not just the clutchest player in the NBA. I think just he's the clutchest player in the NBA, in my personal opinion, because of how much pressure they put him in the clutch. I think, yes, you see Tyrese Halliburton hit the big shots, but before that, it's not really all on Tyrese Halliburton to hit the shot to the shot to the shot to get to the big shot. Jalen Brunson, he does all of that to get to the big shot. He hits the shot before the game winner. He hits the shot before that shot to get to the game winner. So he's really the Mr. Fourth quarter, in my opinion, clutchest player in in the league, in my opinion. Not only is he the clutchest player in the league, I also think his ability to go out there and just flat out score the basketball, and everybody knowing on a night to night basis Jalen Brunson's the game plan, and their ability to still not be able to stop him. And he really has the guy on that Knicks team. And I've said it so many times throughout these playoffs, the Knicks being as good as they are in the clutch. And if you watch that Knicks team, especially with Tom Thibodeau, it wasn't any crazy sets. It wasn't a crazy pick and roll. It was a lot of Jalen Brunson, go get your own. And he did it, got his own, and he's just a flat out bucket. And I think Jalen Brunson is a superstar. That's a dude that entered the club. And yeah, I think that is the superstars of the NBA. I think we have a bunch of people who are right outside of that club. I definitely think Paula will be in here next season. I definitely think Anthony Davis will be back in here next season. And I definitely think Joel Embiid will be back in here next season. Who would I have leaving if I thought there was a best chance to leave? I think the best chance to leave this club for anybody here, in my personal opinion, is Kevin Durant, because I feel like if Kevin Durant doesn't go in and lock in this season, I feel like there's a world where Kevin Durant could lose like if they don't win this season, and I don't mean win, if they don't make if they're a first round exit this season, you could really question the ability of Kevin Durant as a superstar. Now I think he's the best shit. Do I think that's gonna happen? No. I think Kevin Durant, we know he's one of them dudes, and at the end of the day, I don't take no credit away from Kevin Durant. I think he's the great one of the greatest scorers, if not the greatest scorer to ever do it. But yeah, that's my NBA superstars going into the 2025-2026 NBA season. And yeah, we have Wemby. Wemby could get into this list. And I think Wemby might be a guy who skips from, he doesn't even have to walk in that line yet. I think he's a guy that could go straight in. In my opinion, I think he's going to win the DPOY next season. I think the Spurs are going to be one of the top teams in the West. And how much he contributes to that, if the Spurs are the top team in the West, he's going to have to contribute a lot to that. So I think, yeah, I think he's one of them dudes, and I think we'll be seeing Victor Wembanyama here very, very soon. But yeah, thank you for listening to this episode of Tough Talk with 2-4. That's my NBA superstars. Let me know your NBA superstars in the comment section, and who you agree should be on the list, who you think I left off of the list, and who you think is outside of the club that should not be outside of the club. But yeah, thank you for listening to this episode of Tough Talk with 2-4, and we will see you next time.